I'm not entirely sure if this topic is true or will really resonate with anyone, but as time has gone on, I noticed I don't really get hyped for games anymore, not nearly as often. The moment before a game was released, I used to be able to think about those games for a while, waiting day by day until the time finally arrived for us to get our hands on it. With today's video, I simply want to expand upon this topic and see if anyone feels the same way. While yes, I do think aging has a huge effect on this, my thoughts are telling me that with how much the industry has changed, that certainly the hype factor has changed plenty as well. Now, I'm sure the games we grew up with will all have their own levels to it, with how well they were marketed and the scale that we were expecting. So I will share the games I was exposed to. I was jumping on many games from the early Xbox era that everyone else was. Halo, Gears of War, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Assassin's Creed, and more of that catalog that was pretty deep during the Xbox 360 days. All of these were great and are easily amongst my favorites, but I remember the years before they came out. It used to feel like an eternity waiting sometimes only 1 year for a game, while nowadays I kinda just brush it off and don't even care if I get it on day one anymore. The pure excitement of getting a copy in your hands as if that was the big day. Which reminds me, this was during a time when midnight releases and physical copies were much more popular. That in itself is an experience. But why did we get hyped for these games? Why was it crucial that we had to play this? I'd say there's two main reasons. The first one is that we most likely had played the previous game and knew just how good it was. If you were coming off the Halo 2 days, it made an already revolutionary game 10 times better with its story and cooperative experience. It was a game that you could play for years on end and still be satisfied. You thought that was really good, but of course you can't help yourself but to think, what's next? And then here comes the advertisements for it.
I know you, your past, your future.
If you were a fan of Halo back then, and maybe you still are, you definitely felt something with those marketing campaigns. Now, I wasn't quite old enough to remember the launch of Halo 3, but I certainly did for Halo Reach, as well as the classic Gears of War 3. There was also quality Assassin's Creed trailers that I remember fondly. There was many memorable trailers, and as a gamer, I was really excited for all of them. It always got me thinking, what's going to be the next game? I compare that to my thinking nowadays, and the way I even learn about a game is usually through the words of others. I never hear of anything other than, yeah, this game is coming out, or if it's becoming trendy, it's because it already is out. There's a few exceptions, like the Grand Theft Auto series has kept a very good reputation, and when we got the trailer for GTA 6, I'm sure you saw how insane the hype got around it. It blew up in views, and everyone memes about how old they're going to be when it finally drops. But that's my point exactly. People are eagerly waiting for this game to drop. So am I. Mainly because I know how good GTA 5 was, and I have a lot of trust in Rockstar when it comes to making their games. But also we got a trailer that everyone wanted. It's just a good feeling seeing all these other people get excited with you and know that there's a good chance that very good memories are about to enter. A lot of the bigger studios will still have pretty good trailers, but they are super stretched out throughout the years as big video games are taking much longer to produce. Obviously that means less trailers, but also the decline in quality plays a huge part. With franchises that we have become accustomed to, a lot of them have lost the trust from their fan base, leaving a lot of fans to go into games with low expectations and less excitement. They don't care to share how cool this game is going to be, or may not even care to pre-order it. That definitely hurts the atmosphere of the game because it could be less people playing it, or have people who are just numb to it and aren't having the best of time, leading to stale experiences. The last game I truly got hyped for that came out is Starfield. I had lots of trust within Bethesda as I enjoyed all their games except for Fallout 76, but I thought maybe that was an experimental fluke. I saw all the gameplay and trailers of Starfield just picturing how good this game is going to be, and then I'm finally going to have a game that I want to sit down and play for a while. It looked way too good, and basically when it came out, I just couldn't enjoy it. Mostly because it felt overwhelming and content was spread thin between the planet system they had. But before I was met with disappointment, I really did have hype for this game and was rewatching the early gameplay of it just to fend off the excitement. So that was a sign that I could clearly still get excited for games, and GTA 6 was another one that proved that as well. It wasn't a fact that I was getting bored of these games, there just wasn't many good things coming out. And when it does, it takes years. The quality and time to make anything has led to bigger gaps in between releases, leaving those longer periods where it seems gaming is really stale and stagnant. At this point, the video is diving into the mess that is gaming, but I suppose all that factors into how excited we get for a game. The feeling itself is important. While we don't have the games we want yet, because it's not out, during the time where we wait, we just have something to look forward to. And it's not too far on the horizon that we just put it in the back of our mind. Not all of us at least. And while we're waiting for a sequel in a franchise, we're going to be occupied with the current game. It could usually lead people to having good conversations about it. That was the buzz. Or even developers would market it within their current game, getting people even more anticipated and reminding them what they are hyped for. This falls mostly on already established games. However, going from one game to the next always felt more proper, like they prepared me in the best way to get ready for it and to know of it. And with communities that felt more personal, word of mouth was much more effective. I used to always know if a big game was coming out and typically have an idea of when. An example of a recent game that I had no clue was even coming and is apparently the first quadruple A game was Skull and Bones. I kept seeing some stupid advertisements like maybe 2 months before it came out where it almost seemed like mobile game marketing with hiring celebrities to promote the game. And the game idea itself would be one I thoroughly enjoy and get excited for, as it very much based off the Assassin's Creed Black Flag game from back in the day. How they did their marketing would be exactly what I expected out of the finished result. Just a crappy game that took too long to make. All that time for what? At the very least, it got people reminiscing, and to make up for the disappointment, it got plenty of people invested again on Black Flag enjoying the game. I remember how good it was, and the marketing they did for it. It's a pretty memorable game, and it kind of makes me want to go back and have another playthrough of it. Memorability is pretty important when it comes to having a lasting game that can be played multiple times, playing through the exact same things you already experienced. How great the game turns out is obviously the biggest factor in building memorability, but I'd also debate the hype beforehand plays a huge part. If you had extreme amounts of hype going into a game, you have a chance of being met with disappointment, but also a chance to have all or most of the expectations met, fulfilling those thoughts that you've had possibly for years. The impact of expectations getting met and my hype being satisfied has led to these moments that get engraved in my head. I will never forget the days of receiving a copy of Halo Reach or Gears of War 3 and playing it for the entire night, realizing how the day has finally come and how good it really was. Those are nights where it all pays off and the ones you will always remember. Without getting hyped for them, sure, you can still create memories that are amazing, but will some ever hit as hard as they do on day one? There are a few memories that I truly remember specifically from years ago, and I can remember many of the details of the days I got these games and how I got them. That's how much those days meant to me. Hype is very important in gaming, and I think the way the industry has changed has resulted in there being less of it.